Good evening, everyone. It is 5 p.m. and I call this public meeting to order. I want to thank everyone who is joining us this evening. If you want to make a public comment on the items listed under the closed session agenda, please listen carefully to the directions provided by the clerk at the opening of each item. Ms. Elizondo.
Public hearing for visitors who wish to address the board on closed session items. 15 minutes of this portion of the meeting are reserved for members of the public to address the board on closed session items. Speakers seeking to comment on other items are requested to make those comments during the public comment portion of the meeting at 6:30 p.m. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. The school board is prohibited by law from taking action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and no adverse conclusion should be drawn if the school board does not respond to public comment at this time. If you wish to address the board on any item included in this section of the agenda, please step up to the podium and state your name and city of residence. If you are joining us remotely and would like to make a public comment, click on the reactions icon located at the bottom of your screen. In the reactions window, click on the raise hand button and wait for your name to be called. We will allow speakers from the audience to address the board in the order they approach the podium or appear on our screen. President Salazar, we do not have participants who wish to address the board at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Elizondo. Seeing none, hearing none, I close this public hearing and adjourn to closed session to discuss items 1A through 1D. The board will reconvene at the conclusion of closed session. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:46 p.m. and I call this regular meeting to order. Welcome to tonight's board meeting. I want to welcome the media and everyone joining us in person and via Zoom. We ask those joining us this evening to please silence any electronic devices not linked to this meeting. If you would like to make a public comment, please listen carefully to the directions provided by the clerk at the opening of each public comment period. Superintendent Lyle.
President Salazar, Kirk Mendoza, and members of the board and staff, and all of our fans out in Zoom land, I would like to remind us all of our vision and our mission. Our vision states that Madera Unified will set the standard for hard work, creativity, and resiliency with a fearless drive to continuously improve. And I think we're going to have some outstanding examples of that to celebrate here in a few minutes. And our mission states that we are committed to creating and sustaining a culture enabling Madera Unified students to experience an unparalleled educational journey that is intellectually, socially, and personally transformative. That's the nature of our work this evening.
Thank you, Superintendent Lyle. Roll call. Ms. Elizondo, please call the roll.
Trustee Ahmad. Not here. Trustee Cortez is absent for the record. Trustee Dybert.
Here.
Trustee Fleek.
Here.
Trustee Seibert.
Here.
Clerk Mendoza.
Here.
And President Salazar.
Here. Thank you, Ms. Elizondo. Trustee Dybert, would you please lead us in a flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Trustee Dybert. Tonight's scheduled invocation will be provided by Pastor Fred Thurman of the New Life Assembly of Madera. I invite Pastor Thurman to the podium.
The little button, there you go, sir.
Red light, now it's
There
on.
it is.
Thank you. We bow our heads in prayer tonight in reverence to God. Heavenly Father, we thank you as we gather here tonight with our students and student body and faculty all in our minds tonight, Father. We thank you for all the plans that'll be made for this next season, next school year. And we ask for your wisdom. We ask for your grace upon the teachers and faculty and students and all of our classrooms and school properties, God. We ask you today, Father God, to just minister and bring grace upon us all, protection for every student and teacher and all those that work in the school district. We thank you for being with us tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Thurman. Closed session reportable action, Superintendent Lyle.
President Salazar, Kirk Mendoza, members of the board, we have no reportable actions this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Lyle. Adoption of the agenda, Ms. Elizondo.
Action to add or delete items from any portion of the agenda or to discuss any consent agenda items must be taken prior to the adoption of the agenda. Board by Law 9323.2.
Thank you. Superintendent Lau, Superintendent Lau, trustees, do you have items to add or delete from the agenda? Trustee Ahmad is not here. Trustee Dybert?
No.
Thank you. Trustee Fleek?
None, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Seibert?
No.
Clerk Mendoza?
No.
And none for myself. Trustees, do I have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as presented? Please state your name when you make a motion, second the motion.
Trustee Diaper, I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Thank you. It has been moved by trustee Dybert and seconded by trustee Seibert to adopt the agenda as presented. Ms. Elizondo, please pull the board for the record.
Trustee Ahmad, not here. Trustee Cortez, not here. Trustee Dybert,
Yes.
trustee Fleek,
Yes.
trustee Seibert,
Yes.
clerk Mendoza,
Yes.
and President Salazar.
Yes.
President Salazar counted 5 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and 2 absent.
Thank you. And Ms. Elizondo, can you please note when the trustee is not here, they're absent. Thank you.
Yes.
Communications, student and staff recognitions. Recognize Rosa Galindo, recipient of the Casa of Fresno and Madera Counties 2024 Partnership of the Year Award. Superintendent Lyle.
Well, President Salvador, Clerk Mendoza, members of the board, and public, we're gonna pause tonight to honor someone, and it's a little bit bittersweet. And there's a lot to say about Ms. Galindo. She has done some work that would possibly go unnoticed because so often the students that she serves don't necessarily want to be noticed for the service that she's providing. However, she makes them feel as though they're seen and heard and valued. So to explain a little bit more, I'd like Director Crafton to please approach the podium. The floor is yours, Director Crafton.
Good evening, President Salazar, Clerk Mendoza, trustees, Superintendent Lyle. As Superintendent Lyle has already stated, Rosa is our program manager for children and youth in transition, and often they are children who don't necessarily want attention drawn to them. However, as represented by her family being present and her entire team and former team members, Rosa does an excellent job in welcoming, supporting, and caring for not just the students, but for the staff and for Madera Unified in general. She is a Madera product and a Madera community member who loves this community. And she and her family always put the concerns and needs of the community at large first. And I really wanted to just kind of take a moment to reiterate that it is bittersweet. She will be stepping down from her position and she will be coming on board as a consultant with the grant that we received around attendance. So I'm honored that she's still going to be part of my team, as I call it. And we'll be working in a different capacity. It'll be, again, bittersweet. I'm sure her team feels the loss, but they will still be very much supported and she will be present in our everyday work. She's doing that to go back to school so that she can reach her ultimate goal and really be able to touch students at a closer level and receive her PPS credential. So excited for her and her family and for students in the future. Sad in the interim that she has to step aside to be able to complete that task. This year, she was honored by CASA as one of its partnership members of community partnership and really supporting them. A couple of different examples is that she participated in piloting a program. It was 6 sessions around ACEs, and it was for middle school students. And then we also targeted Ripperton students. Rosa reached out with CASA and they joined together and they piloted an opportunity for students to go through 6 sessions to learn about what their triggers are and how to really kind of cope with some of life's challenges. And she has also done the 2-week academy that they do some trainings around. She's a presenter, a staple in that process of really making sure that CASA advocates understand the rights and what the district offers and how we partner together in that. And I could go on and on, but I know many of you have attended events and you've seen some of the opportunities that students have as a result of her, but she was one of the award winners and she received from CASA this Partnership of the Year award. And so we just wanted to bring it forward tonight and to congratulate her and to celebrate her achievement.
Thank you.
So Rosa, you don't really totally get off that easy. Right? So let's for just a second, not that we want to make everybody get, misty in the moment here, but let's just for a minute recognize that you came to us from Merced, right? You came back to us
I came back, yes.
because you had been here before, had left and come back. And you joined us at Madera South High School. I may know somebody who hired you and he may not have hair. And you took on a role that was already had been occupied by a really esteemed person and found all kinds of new ways to make that really special. You've done that at the district level too. Would you please share with the board what I think I know the answer to this, but would you please share with them the dream you had and what it was like to actually get to do it when you got to take foster kids to do something they wouldn't have otherwise done?
I thought you were referring to our clothing closet and food pantry.
Yeah, well, that one's pretty awesome too.
That one was great because that one also came from my time at Madera South and talking to all of the administrators there and also to you. So that was one of the dreams, but the one that had always been on my vision board, and I already shared at one of our other board meetings that I've been here, is I'm taking 30 students to Disneyland, to their Disney Imagination campus. It was an educational field trip, and we also made it fun for the students. We got to stay there as well. So it was on my vision board, I don't know, 10 years now, and it finally came to fruition. So I'm thankful for the opportunity that we were given and all of the partnerships and everything that it took in on my whole team and organizing and prepping. It was 10 years in the making. So it wasn't one day to the next. And it was a lot of coordination between different organizations and also interdepartmental with ELOP. So it was a fun time. And our kids just had a blast. They didn't want to come home. We're like, we have to bring you guys home. I'm sorry. One more ride, please. I'm like, we're going to have to text all of your parents right now that we're running late. So they're like, it's okay. My mom doesn't care. And I go, no, they do care because we are going to be on the road at a very early in the morning. So that's been my dream, my goal, more of a dream. And I finally got to do it. And I'm thankful that I was able to before. I think everything's just kind of coming to a closing, to an end, and receiving this award on behalf of CASA was pretty amazing too. So thank you.
Ms. Crafton just mentioned in closed session, she was talking about something totally different, but she said something I think really applies. Like, kids don't always remember what you did, but they remember how you made them feel. Thank you. You made kids feel special. You made kids feel like somebody cared.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve our students, and I hope to come back and serve in a different capacity.
Thank you, Ms. Galindo.
We appreciate you.
And now we move on to item number 6A2. We recognize Ariely Montoya, recipient of the California Language Teachers Association Outstanding Teachers of the Year Award. Superintendent Lyle.
So President Salazar, Clerk Mendoza, and members of the board and all of our hundreds of thousands of fans on Zoom tonight. We earlier this year had the opportunity to celebrate a really outstanding teacher at Monroe Elementary School for being the California League of Schools Elementary Teacher of the Year. It was a really amazing honor. And right on the heels of that is another really amazing honor that is also very well earned. Here's the thing that's really hard to wrap our heads around. This is the level of performance that she's at. And I'll tell you right now, I know she's not comfortable with it because she is one of those competitive people who believes there's always more to do. There's always another level of excellence to discover. And so I don't think for one second that this is the kind of award that will go to this teacher's resume and hold her ability to grow down. she's only going to continue to grow up and serve our students and inspire them even more. So Ms. Gassett, would you please introduce our guest, our honoree? The floor is yours.
Ready. Hi, good evening, President Salazar, Clerk Mendoza, trustees, and Superintendent Lyle. When I was asked to introduce Ms. Annaeli tonight, I was excited. And it is with great pleasure and excitement that I get to introduce her because a few years back, I had the privilege of working with Ms. Montoya as she began her teaching career at Madera South High School. And it just so happened that during that time, I was the vice principal that oversaw world language. And so I got to see her come in as a very brand new teacher. And I immediately saw that she was the definition of a student champion before we defined what a student champion was. But it was because she really had a passion for teaching her students. And I saw that right away. It was very evident. And then when Torres High School opened up, Ms. Montoya had the opportunity to move to Torres High School, where she continued to teach Spanish, she significantly and positively impacted the students she taught. And I spend a lot of time on Torres campus, and I have to say, I see her all over the place. Like I see her in leadership roles. I see her supporting students. I always see her with a positive attitude. So it was really exciting to hear that she was awarded this because I have no doubt just from my time with her at Madera South and how much she's impacted her students at Torres High School that she's very deserving of this. So it's great with a great pleasure that I share with you that Mrs. Montoya was awarded the Outstanding Teacher of the Year Award from the California League Teachers Association. This award is given to world language educators who exemplify exceptional qualities that demonstrate a passion for teaching, learning, and making a difference in the lives of their students. And I am really proud that that's one of our teachers. And I just want to say congratulations, Ms. Montoya. If you'd like to come up.
Oh, you're good.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this award, this recognition. And I want to also thank you, Ms. Gassett. Thank to the staff and from Madera South High School and Ms. Rodriguez, who is my principal from Matilda Torres High School, and also my colleagues from Madera High, because without them and their own support, I wouldn't be here. Because with them, it's enjoyable, my job. And because of them, like I also wake up and I want to be here and I want to work. So thank you very much.
And you coach basketball too.
Yes,
Don't pretend like you don't.
Yes, I coach basketball too.
Right? There's something about basketball coaches and excellence that just kind of goes hand in hand. And you definitely exemplify that. But one of the things that she's not going to say, but I'm going to say it, when she walks across campus, how many people yell at you when you walk across campus? Over, under 50.
Yeah, a lot.
Right.
I say that.
Right. Because kids feel like there's a connection with you, right? And to find a way to have 35 kids feel connected to their teacher in class, period after period after period, is really challenging. Like that takes a lot of intentionality, that takes a lot of heart, and you bring it every day, right?
Yes.
This award is not an accident, right? This is not, the award isn't by design, but the excellence is, and being a student champion is. So we want you to know that we know that too, and we see it, and we want you to know that we see it, and we want the community to know it. Maybe the world language teachers of California know it, but that's not necessarily everybody in town, right? So we'll make sure that your story is well known, and like you told your story brilliantly at the Seal of Biliteracy. Every time you've ever talked about your story, you can feel how that impacts the audience, right? And we hope that you have a long career of impacting audiences, large and small, just like that, for decades more to come. We kind of expect a lot out of you, you can imagine,
Okay.
right? Especially since you haven't aged since you got hired here, right? But I think the sky is still the limit. So congratulations. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
One more thing. I also want to say thank you to the CLTA program and the CCWP, which is the regional program here for the teachers that are working here in the Valley. So thank you very much.
Of course. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we Ms. Galindo too. We
Yes, would you
make
mind
sure we
coming up
get some
here? Thank you.
pictures. Frank, you need to get us under control. Yeah, we can come down. Yeah.
Now we move on to item 6A3, the Madera Minutes. Superintendent Lyle.
President Salazar, Clerk Mendoza, members of the board, we had an action-packed 2 weeks, and we hope this highlight captures it.
Over 100 Madera Unified sixth graders competed in the 17th annual Mathletics competition at Thomas Jefferson Middle School. Awards were earned for both individual events and overall top scorers. The Rotary Club of Madera and Madera Unified hosted its annual Netherton Relays at the Madera South Stadium. Over 600 students took part in the separate girls and boys relay competitions. All students were awarded participation medals. In other things, high school students from Torres, Madera, and Madera South who are heading to a four-year college, private school, vocational program in the armed forces were honored with the special signing day event at their schools. Congratulations to all on their educational journey. The Madera Unified Community Services and Parent Resource Centers continue to offer the necessary tools for the Madera community to thrive. 58 parents completed the center's spring semester literacy classes. Parents learned how to use the Parent Portal, Parent Square, Google Drive, and more, which will help them keep track of their child's grades and stay in communication with their child's teachers. The center also organized a positive discipline virtual workshop. 123 parents graduated from the program and gained positive parenting skills that are essential for nurturing healthy and successful teenagers. And that's not all. 26 parents completed the center's Spanish Adult Literacy Spring Semester class. Parents learned to write and read in their native or second language, which is Spanish. These classes empower parents to take a more active role in their children's education, as they can now read the written material they receive from their children's schools. Hundreds of Madera Unified Classified employees attended the 5th Annual Classified Professional Development Conference at Torres High School. They enjoyed a day full of informative workshops, food, and prizes. And to end the grade school year, Madera Unified Middle Schools held promotion ceremonies to honor 8th grade students who will be moving on to high school. Family and friends were invited to witness the special occasions. And it has been an exciting and emotional time at Madera Unified as the district said farewell to the high school graduating class of 2024. Students from all of the district's high schools crossed the stage to receive their diplomas. Congratulations to the class of 2024. You make Madera Unified proud.
Now moving on to item number 6B, public hearing for visitors who wish to speak on a subject not on the board agenda. Mrs. Elizondo?
15 minutes of this portion of the meeting are reserved for members of the public to address the board on items not listed on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of the school board. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. If the subject is an item on the agenda, the board president has the option of asking the speaker to hold the comment until that item is called. Comments on items listed as a public hearing on the agenda should be held until the hearing is opened. The school board is prohibited by law from taking action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and no adverse conclusion should be drawn if the school board does not respond to public comment at this time. If you wish to address the board on an item not on the board agenda, please step up to the podium and state your name and city of residence. If you are joining remotely and would like to make a public comment, click on the reactions icon located at the bottom of your screen. In the reactions window, click on the raise hand button and wait for your name to be called. Speakers will be allowed to address the board in the order they approach the podium or appear on our screen. President Salazar, we do not have participants who wish to address the board at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Elizondo. Seeing and hearing no one, I close the public hearing. Item number C6, 6C, public hearing. Public hearing for the 2024 Local Control Accountability Plan. The plan outlines the goals, actions, and resources for the next 3 years to improve student outcomes. Ms. Elizondo.
If you wish to address the board on this item, please step up to the podium and state your name and city of residence. If you are joining us remotely and would like to make a public comment, please click on the reactions icon located at the bottom of your screen. In the reactions window, click on the raise hand button and wait for your name to be called. We will allow speakers from the audience to address the board in the order they approach the podium or appear on our screen. Comments provided via email, no comments, just in public, sorry. And President Salzer, we do not have participants who wish to address the board on this item as well.
Thank you, Ms. Son. Seeing or hearing no one, I close public hearing at 7:13 PM. 6:45, public hearing for 2021 proposed budget and, 7:13. Public hearing for the 24-25 public proposed budget and reserve levels. The board has an approved 10% minimum fund balance. The level of reserve allows the district to manage cash flow, mitigate funding, address unexpected costs, save for large purchases, and reduce borrowing costs. Mrs. Elizondo.
If you wish to address the board on this item, please come up to the podium and state your name and city of residence. If you are joining us remotely and would like to make a public comment, please click on the reactions icon located at the bottom of your screen. In the reactions window, click on the raise hand button and wait for your name to be called. We will allow speakers from the audience to address the board in the order they approach the podium or appear on our screen. And President Salzar, we do not have any participants who wish to address the board on this item.
Thank you, Mrs. Elizondo. Seeing or hearing no one, I close public hearing at 7:14 PM. Moving on to item number 7, consent agenda. Ms. Elizondo.
Sorry, and for the record, can I state that trustee Ahmad joined the meeting at 7 o'clock?
Okay, thank you.
For the record, okay. So items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and are acted on by the Board of Trustees in one motion. There is no discussion of these items prior to the board vote unless a member of the board or staff requests specific items be considered and discussed separately or removed from the consent agenda prior to the adoption of the agenda. It is understood that the administration recommends approval on all consent items, and each item on the consent agenda approved by the Board of Trustees shall be deemed to have been considered in full and adopted as recommended.
I now open this consent agenda for public hearing. Mrs. Elizondo.
If you wish to address the board on an item included in the consent agenda, please step up to the podium and state your name and city of residence. If you are joining remotely and would like to make a public comment, click on the reactions icon located at the bottom of your screen. In the reactions window, click on the raise hand button and wait for your name to be called. Speakers will be allowed to address the board in the order they approach the podium or appear on our screen. And President Salazar, we do not have any participants who wish to address the board on this item either.
Thank you, Ms. Elizondo. Seeing no one come forward, I close public hearing and public comment. I now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. State your name when making the motion and when you second the motion. It is trustees, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Clerk Mendoza, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you.
Trustee Fleek, I'll second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Clerk Mendoza and second by second by Trustee Fleek to approve the consent agenda. There is one resolution in the consent agenda. Ms. Elizondo, please pull the board for the record.
Trustee Ahmad,
Yes.
Trustee Cortez is absent. Trustee Dybert,
Yes.
Trustee Fleek,
Yes.
Trustee Seibert,
Yes.
Clerk Mendoza, and President
Yes.
Salazar.
Yes, thank you. Thank you,
President
Ms.
Salazar,
Oh,
I counted 6 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and 1 absent.
Thank you, Ms. Elizondo. Superintendent Lau, do you have any administrative announcements?
I do, and I think we can all tell in the room because it's cleared out just enough that the family that's going to get a chance to engage with us has a very beautiful little child in the back who's making me really miss those days pretty drastically right now. President Salazar, Clerk Mendoza, and members of the board and to our community out there, I'd like to introduce a gentleman who's been with us now for several years and has had multiple opportunities to grow and to learn, whether it's been at MTech, whether it's been with our migrant education, whether it's been in the Student and Family Support Division as a climate and culture coach, and even as a vice principal over at Virginia Lee Rose. Fabian Casillas is a gentleman who is highly intelligent, highly ethical, very motivated, and someone whose career is just getting started. I have a feeling he's going to be a wonderful superintendent someday. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you the new vice principal at Madera High School, Mr. Fabian Casillas.
Good evening and thank you, Board President Salazar, Clerk Mendoza, esteemed members of the board, Superintendent Lyle, and all of the educators, families, and community members here tonight. It is a bittersweet moment to be standing here today. Though I am sad to be leaving the Rose Knight family, I am very excited to join the Madera High School Coyotes. I want to express my deep gratitude to Jesus Navarro and the Rose Knights for their warm welcome and acceptance. In my short time, I've had the privilege of meeting many exceptional staff members and forming bonds with the remarkable community Virginia Lee Rose serves. Please know that though I am leaving the site, you can still count on me for anything. I also want to express my heartfelt thanks to Robin Cosgrove and the Madera High School community for the opportunity to serve at such a meaningful and historic campus. I've shared numerous times the deep history and significance of Madera High School is part of what drew me to it. The profound connection that this community has with Madera High School is a testament to its importance, and the responsibility to serve in this capacity for this community is one that I am deeply committed to. I look forward to collaborating with the exceptional administrative team that Mrs. Cosgrove has assembled, and I promise to give my all in all that I do. I also want to thank my parents and my siblings who instilled in me the value of education and the importance of a strong work ethic, values that I hope to bring to Madera High School. Finally, and most importantly, I'd like to thank the reason behind everything I do, the people who motivate me and keep me going every day. Thank you to my darling wife, Alex, and our son, Gabriel, for their endless love and support. Every long day is worth it when I come home and hear an excited dada that I think you guys have all heard behind me.
That's the best.
He's turning 1 tomorrow. Please know that no job or title could ever mean more to me than being your husband and your dad. Thank you, and go Coyotes.
So Fabian, here's just before you go, because I know it's going to be on some of our trustees' minds, because I know how they think, and they're right. That is a pretty special little guy. And there's a lot of extra duties to pick up and a lot of volunteer work to be done, and don't always do it.
You know, the good thing is he looks really good in blue. So he can be in those stands when I'm working those games and then when I'm working those events.
That's one of the better things you can do. There's a few of us in here, and I know one of my colleagues who grew up on the sidelines at Coyote Athletics, and that's not a bad way to spend your childhood, right? Around really positive people, like immersed in school culture and pride. Like that's a really great way to grow up, but make sure that you're there as much as you can be. I started when I had one just a little bit bigger, well, a little older, but a whole lot bigger because he's a monster. He's a giant. And I can tell you there was things missed. So just be thoughtful about that. And I know you have a very thoughtful principal who will be thinking about that for you too. Congratulations. They're going to be really well served with your leadership.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Casillas. Item number 8, information reports. At this time, union time. At this time, I invite the presidents of unions to address the board. Any union presidents, Ms. Elizondo?
President Salazar, unfortunately, Mr. Holder and Ms. Sherry Giddens are not with us present at this meeting today.
Thank you, Ms. Elizondo. Item number 9, superintendent's time.
I'll try to blaze through. Thank you. I want to commend the Ag Academy teachers, school leaders, and school leaders for allowing students in FFA to take initiative of their own culture with their banquet. It was wonderful. Also want to commend Camarena Health and AXA for providing the Golden Apple Award opportunity, and Camarena Health, who received that award, was nominated by Director McKenna for their outstanding partnership over these many years. I also want to commend the Noon Rotary for the work that they did partnering with our track and field coaches and our athletes and our elementary school coaches and our administrators to make a really great night out of the Netherton Relays, and the community tradition lives on. I also want to commend our maintenance and operations staff, our high school custodians, actually all 6 of our high schools, all their entire staffs, for really outstanding graduations, meaningful speeches, and traditions and honors. Thanks to the board for being made out of iron this last week and going to every promotion and graduation. That was a real feat, and we all noticed. Thanks also to the MUSD directors who came to honor the occasions night after night. And this last week was one of the most impressive weeks of honors that we've had in recent memory. So, and thanks to all the staff in the room, executive cabinet, for making it a point to be at these really important events. I'd also like to mention that the Classified Professional Development Conference happened yesterday, and I want to commend the Personnel Commission staff and board, especially the committee under the leadership of Director Barreras, for putting on a really first-rate conference yet again. We love seeing how much our people enjoy having a day dedicated to their improvement, and it's really fun to just see them getting the chance to see each other after a long year. Thanks to Trustee Dybert for telling her inspirational journey through our classified ranks as well. And today marks the start of summer school, and we want to appreciate all the hustle from our classified staff to get classrooms, bathrooms, grounds, food, transportation all ready. And thanks to our teachers for being willing, and our counselors for working so hard to get this all organized. And we're off into the world of summer school. And then lastly, we're having vacations. We all know that this is that time of year when we start seeing a little bit less of each other because people disappear into some family reconnection time. Please enjoy those upcoming vacations. They must be nice.
Thank you, Superintendent Lyle. Item number 10, old business. Item 10A1, fiscal services, approve the 24-25 annual contract service agreements. Superintendent Lyle?
President Salazar, Clerk Mendoza, members of the board, we know this item, we know this song, and we know this singer. CFO Garcia,
Yes.
That's a good one.
got the mic.
Good evening, President Salazar, Clerk Mendoza, trustees. As Superintendent Lyle said, this is a routine item that we do every year. And in the last board meeting, I presented to you pretty much the same book, but we have some adjustments to do. Some amounts change, not many. And we added last minute contracts that came in. So we have it approved and ready to go for 24-25. So hopefully you receive a summary. And so we have in this book, we have approximately 44 million in contracts that are going to be effective July 1st. And so that way our departments can start the purchase orders and they are ready to go when they need it for the whole fiscal year. If you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to answer.
CFO Garcia. I now open this item for public comment. Ms. Elizondo?
If you wish to address the board regarding this item, please step up to the podium and state your name and city of residence. If you are joining remotely and would like to make a public comment, click on the reactions icon located at the bottom of your screen. In the reactions window, click on the raise hand button and wait for your name to be called. Speakers will be allowed to address the board in the order they approach the podium or appear on our screen. President Salazar, we do not have any participants who wish to address the board on this item.
Thank you, Ms. Elizondo. Seeing no one come forward, I close public comment. Trustees, do I have any questions for staff? Trustee Dybert?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Trustee Ahmad?
No.
Trustee Fleek?
No questions, thank you.
Trustee Seibert? Okay, Clerk Mendoza?
No questions.
And myself, I have no questions. I now entertain a motion and a second to approve item 10A1. Please state your name when you make a motion, and second the motion?
Trustee Ahmad make a motion for 10A to approve.
I second that motion. Trustee Diber?
It has been moved by trustee Ahmad and second by trustee Diber to approve item 10A1. Ms. Elizondo, please pull the board.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I didn't have my speaker on. Sorry. And you forget to turn on your speaker. Sorry. Trustee Ahmad.
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Cortez is absent. Trustee Dibert.
Yes.
Trustee Fleek.
Yes.
Trustee Seibert.
Yes.
Clerk Mendoza.
Yes.
And President Salzer.
Yes.
President Salzer, I counted 6 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, and 1 absent.
Thank you, Mrs. Elizondo. Item number 11, new business. Item 11A1, educational services, present and discuss 24-25 local control and accountability plan. Superintendent Lyle.
President Salazar, Clerk Mendoza, members of the board. You're about to have the LCAP presented to you, and this one is a representative of a real departure, not only in process, but also in some substance as well. And it has been put together with a real team effort. You're about to meet that team now. You should also know that the outreach to our constituents, to our partners, whether they're at our school sites or in our community, in a wide variety of capacities, that outreach has been really outstanding and has been, I think at this stage, it's safe to say the most vast level of outreach yet in any LCAP that we've done. So to present this important work is the author, the artist formerly known as Assistant Superintendent Sisson.
Good evening, President Salazar, Clerk Mendoza, members of the board, Superintendent Lyle. I asked for a question of privilege. I hope it's okay to ask to dim the lights. I've been fighting a severe migraine all day. I keep saying it's hanging out right here. I've got really bad tunnel vision right now. So I apologize for having my sunglasses on earlier. Thank you. So before I get into the actual presentation, I want to say thank you to Director Adam Bonilla and also to CFO Arelis Garcia. This was our first time together, the three of us, working to be responsible to author what will be the LCAP for the next 3 years. And there have been, I would say, a significant amount of accountability measures added to the document that in the past have not been there. And so I met with superintendent yesterday and he asked me, he said, Cheryl, he said, how many hours do you think that you all have put into this document at this point? And he had asked me to put a slide in and I didn't. But what I will tell you is my administrative assistant kind of went through my calendar and calculated all the hours that I spent with these two, plus in the community doing meetings, and it was 187 hours. That was just starting in August until now. And you'll see here in a minute, this doesn't really conclude until September. So the work is not quite yet done, but the lion's share of the work is complete. What I would like to do tonight is really spend time walking you through the document. And then over the course of the next 2 weeks, there are sessions set up for myself and Director Bonilla and CFO Garcia to sit with you in smaller groups to answer any questions that you may have that you come across as we either go through this tonight or as you have spent time looking at it or will look at it. So first thing that is important is to understand the timeline. And I think until I actually was responsible for this document, I maybe didn't always understand the timeline for how the LCAP progress works. So in January 2024 is when sort of everything begins. And it begins with the state introducing the LCAP template that was going to be the new template, as well as the launch of the California Schools Dashboard. Because what you'll see in here and throughout my presentation is that the California Dashboard is a big piece to this work. Obviously, we have district level measures, but what the document is expected to be written towards is our results on the California Schools Dashboard. So between January and February, Madera County Superintendent of Schools team provides trainings for the three of us, which we attended. You'll remember in February, one of the new requirements that the state has come out with is that we did a mid-year review. And during that mid-year review, which will happen every February moving forward, is where we come back to the board and basically give you an update on our progress on all of the individual actions that are in the currently approved LCAP. Another big piece of the work that happens between kind of February and the end of May is, depending on our progress, our academic progress, as well as progress on local school indicators such as absenteeism, suspension rate, our progress on the LP, which is the English Learner Progress Indicator, also on college and career readiness. We have schools that, based on their colors that they receive on the dashboard, are identified as what are called CSI schools or ATSI schools. And if you are identified as a CSI school, which stands for Comprehensive Support and Improvement, as a district, we're required to take a leadership team that the principal identifies and take that team through a set of steps that Director Bonilla leads. We utilize the improvement science model. He's an expert in that. And so he works closely with principals and their teams. And so between February and May, this past February and May, he worked with Furman Independent Study, with Ripperton Community Day School, and MLK Middle School. So those three schools, when you get into the actual document, you're going to be able to access the plans that were written to address what those particular schools are going to focus on based on their dashboard indicators. The other piece to this is there's also a district-wide view. And if the district has multiple red indicators, and red is the lowest performance level on the dashboard, in any of the identified areas, then a school district qualifies for differentiated assistance. Madera Unified has qualified for differentiated assistance since the 2018 school year. And we've had a couple different plans. Then it was sort of put on hold during COVID. And last year, 22-23, I apologize. So the way it works is it's based on the previous year's dashboard. So in January, our differentiated assistance plan is because of our progress in 2023. So our previous year's differentiated assistance work was because of our progress on our dashboard in 2022. So this it skips to a calendar year, not a school year, not a fiscal year. So we are in differentiated assistance again. And Adam also facilitates, and I'm sorry, Director Bonilla also facilitates and leads that work. In that case, though, we bring together an identified group of educational partners that range from district office staff, from community partners, to sometimes students, parents can be involved, and school site leaders and teachers. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that in detail when we get into the plan. But we are also identified and do have to submit a differentiated assistance plan that the county office oversees. The CSI schools, they look at them, but they expect us to oversee those. But with our differentiated assistance plan, county office looks at that and gives us feedback and provides support as needed. We're lucky that we have Director Bonilla because traditionally what they do is like facilitate the process, but we have our own internal expert to facilitate that process, which makes it really nice. Also during that time, when the dashboard comes out, we now have, and this is a new piece to this document, is something referred to as required actions. So in just a minute, I'm going to show you that there's 3 areas in which a school district can receive the performance level of red. And for every red performance level indicator on our dashboard, there has to be an action with a metric with the student group or the school that is being addressed in this plan. So for Madera Unified, that was 102. So we have 102 red indicators in our district. Okay. We also this year knew the California Department of Education wanted to address schools that they identified as having student populations that were not stable. So they created something called the Equity Multiplier Funds. And in Madera Unified, we have 4 schools that meet the requirements to receive funding under what's called the Equity Multiplier Plan. The interesting piece about this, and Arelis can answer the financial side of this, is the Equity Multiplier dollars are not part of the LCFF base grant. They're not part of that. They're in addition to, but for whatever reason, the state required school districts with schools that qualify as Equity Multiplier schools to have an individual goal in the LCAP with a plan. That plan has to be developed by a team that is facilitated by Director Bonilla. You'll see that there's some overlap there. That Furman Independent Study is both a CSI school and an Equity Multiplier school. Ripperton is both a CSI school and an Equity Multiplier school. Mount Vista has in the past been CSI. They were exited this year, but they qualified as an Equity Multiplier school. And then Easton Arcola, which is the only elementary school, it's a K-8, that qualified as an Equity Multiplier school. The plans may be similar, but they cannot be identical. So we couldn't take Ripperton's CSI plan and also use it as Ripperton's Equity Multiplier plan. It requires, both of them require a team, and both of them require a study session and a deep dive into the reasons why they're in CSI status or why they are an Equity Multiplier school. And then we go through that process, and Adam has been facilitating this, been pretty busy between February and May working on these plans. The other piece to this work, as you all know, is the educational partner feedback that as a district we are excited to work with and facilitate. So April is the date where those groups, specifically PAC and DLAC, come and make the formal recommendation to you as a board of trustees. However, between January, February, and March, CFO Garcia, Director Bonilla, and myself, we go to multiple meetings to facilitate, to train, to support all the people that come around to gather all the feedback. And so between January and April, there's a lot of evenings, a lot of mornings, a lot of school site meetings that are held. Principals were really involved this year, which was really nice and was new for us. We hadn't had that since I think before COVID. Then in May, Ed Code states that after the PAC and the DLAC come and make their formal recommendation, that then you all must, with the superintendent, provide a formal letter back to those organizations, letting them know that you have received their recommendations and you've heard their recommendations. So we do that in May. Also in May, the governor's May revision comes out. Once that comes out, we can actually start assigning budget to the actions within the LCAP. And what you're going to see in here in just a minute is that pretty much every dollar that runs through Arelis's department in some form or fashion, with the exception of a few $1,000,000, is attached to one of the actions that is in our LCAP. So all of the dollars in the district have to be aligned to an action within the LCAP. But we can't do that until the May revise comes out. So we start that in May. And then as you well know, I'm here tonight. So the month of June is the first and second read and approval. The other piece that is required to happen simultaneously with the approval of the LCAP in June is Director Bonilla and I will, again, with some other staff, do a presentation on the local indicators that the dashboard expects us to bring you back information on. And then CFO Garcia also gets the initial budget approved. So those things by Ed Code have to happen all simultaneously. Then in July, like July 1st, we will submit our LCAP to Madera County Superintendent of Schools, and they have a team that basically spends the whole month of July looking over our LCAP, asking questions. They'll bring to us any revisions that they might want to see. They'll bring to us feedback. And then we have about the month of August for the three of us to sit down and address all of the recommendations brought to us by Madera County Superintendent of Schools. And on or before September 15th, if there's any major changes to the document after the approval, I would bring it back to you at the first board meeting in September to have it reapproved. I don't foresee that having to happen, but it officially gets approved on or before September 15th by the county office. So that is the timeline for how the LCAP is created. The other piece is it's very specific on how this document is put together for you. So we don't choose to put one section here, one section here, one section here. The state clearly defines for us. And so that's why this is listed 1 through 6 for you. So as you're going through the document, when you start on page 5, the very first thing you must see is the local control funding budget overview for parents. After that, it's the local control accountability plan annual update for 23-24. So our existing LCAP doesn't just go away. It is part of this document, and there's a process. We had to review every action. We had to analyze every action, and then we had to decide if any actions were moving forward into the new LCAP. We have to justify why, and if they're not, we have to explain why. And that's all in the annual update. Then after that, you have to post the instructions. So you'll see in here, like, you're going to think, why in the middle of the document is there instructions? We have to post the instructions for the annual update. Those are on page 25. Then when you look at page 28 actually is the start of the 24-25 LCAP. That's where the new LCAP actually begins. For this document, it starts on page 28. And then all of the pieces that we'll talk about in a minute are found between pages 28 and 143. That's the current, that'll be the 24-25 LCAP. And then 144 is where you get to the instructions. And again, this document ends with the instructions for how to complete the 24-25 LCAP. So let's get into it. And I'm going to do my best to try to get us through this because I currently can't see this side of the room. So starting with the parent portion on page 5. This part of the document has some very specific requirements, so specific that we don't create this. This is a template that the state sends us, and we plug in information, and this is generated, and we basically cut and paste it in here, because I think the three of us would tell you if we had our way, this isn't exactly how we would provide the information, but it's how the state creates the template. So when you look at the parent overview, It's supposed to be user-friendly, supposed to be easy for parents to read, and they're supposed to be able to easily see the total projected LCFF revenue. They're supposed to see the budgeted expenditures for the planned actions and services and the current year expenditures for increased and improved services, which is the amount that is generated by our unduplicated student population. And it also has to contain a brief description on activities or programs supported by general fund expenditures that are not in the LCAP, which for us, we do have a small amount of expenditures. It's about 9 million and some change that is in our budget, but it is not allocated to any expenditure in the LCAP. So that's the first section. Now, if you turn to page 9, this is the start of what looks somewhat similar to the current LCAP. And what I would want you to spend some time looking at between now and the approval is what we are required to do here is, if you look at, just as an example on page 9 where it says measuring and reporting results, we had to go in and put all of the year 3 outcomes. So if you have been on the board for most of you have been on here now a number of years. Last year, when we did this, the year 3 outcome would have been left blank. We had only year 1 and year 2 outcomes. So this is the completion of the 3-year cycle. So what you'll see here by goal is the year 3 actions. I'm sorry, the year 3 outcomes, with the exception of a few areas. As an example, like DLAC, ELAC, PAC, and school site council. That's a document that the principals submit, and we ask them to submit it by the last day of school. Well, I had to have this to the printer before the last day of school. So when you get your next, when it comes out to be official, we'll make sure anything, I think there's 3. There's 4 metrics from the 23-24 document that we couldn't fill in just yet because we're waiting on that data. So as you go through this, you'll see our goals from the 23-24 LCAP. You'll see all of the outcomes. So the table's completely full now. And then you'll see the section called goal analysis. And that particular section has 4 questions that we're responsible for answering. And I'll just, as a quick little reminder, the current LCAP has 6 goals and 68 actions. And each of those 68 actions required us to look at all 4 of those questions. And so every action has to be taken through a series of asking ourselves, yes, no, maybe, and explaining why. For those 68 actions, it's 4 questions apiece. Any action that we carry forward from 23-24 LCAP, we have to explain how it's been effective and why we're carrying it forward. Okay, so that's what you're going to read when you read the section in the annual update and when you look at the goal analysis for the annual update. The one big piece I would say that as you move forward in this document, we can no longer carry actions forward that are ineffective. And I think the 3 of us appreciate that. It was something we found really frustrating because we had actions in the old LCAP that we had $0 allocated to, or we weren't able to do it and it just had to ride with us for 3 years. The state's made an adjustment now, and that's not going to be something that's possible. We're going to have to show that every action in here is effective, and we have to show it's effective through using either quantitative or qualitative measures. All right. So let's turn to page 28. So page 28 is the first page of the 24-25 LCAP. In here, you're going to find what is referred to as the plan summary. So under the plan summary, there's general information, which looks very similar. Each of you, I think, has been to at least one meeting where I've presented like the mosaic of the student that talks about the ethnicity and race of our students and the overview of our student population and demographics. It talks about the number of schools that we have. It gives really general information. And after you get through general information, this is a new piece. So I would want you to sort of take a quick minute to look at page starting on 31. So 31 is referred to as there's annual performance and then technical assistance. So a few minutes ago, I mentioned to you that for every indicator that was read on our district dashboard or an individual school's dashboard, it has to be addressed in the LCAP. So if you start on the bottom of page 31, you'll see the start of a table. And it says district-wide student groups earning the lowest performance level. So for graduation rate, which is a dashboard indicator, our English learner student group was red on our district dashboard. So if you want to know where we're addressing what we're going to do to help our English learners improve their graduation rate, you would go to goal 4, action 3. And what I'm going to do, because as I was looking through it, I realized that we're going to add a page number column there. Okay, so we'll have that next time. So you're not trying to figure out where that is. And for the public, to be honest, the public should be able to pick this up and be able to find anything in here. So we will add the page number for all of these tables. All right. If you look at page 32, kind of towards the top, you'll see there's a new table that starts right above that. It says those are our schools within the district that earned an overall rating in a lowest performance level. So let's look at English language arts. Okay. In English language arts, Nishimoto Elementary, King Middle School, and Furman Independent Study all had an overall red for their indicator in English language arts. So again, if you want to know where we wrote in this plan, how we're allocating money, what we plan to do to improve the English language arts at those schools, you would look at goal 4, action 9. Again, I will get page numbers so you guys can easily find that. So that middle table is addressing specific schools that had overall indicators of red in one of the dashboard indicators. And then about halfway down on that same page, you see in the black bold that says student groups within a school earning the lowest performance level. So we started at the biggest level. You started at the district indicators district-wide that were red. Then we moved to if schools had entire student groups or entire areas that were red. And then the third section we had to look at is by indicator, by school, by student group. So we're looking on page 32 towards the bottom, you're going to see English language arts. In English language arts, as an example, Howard Elementary has a red indicator for their English learners. Okay, so we have to write and address how we're going to improve the outcomes for our specific student groups in each dashboard indicator. So that's where this particular LCAP gets a lot more driven by accountability measures. And it's not a bad thing. It just is very tedious with a district our size to address all of those and not have hundreds of actions. Because the other part of this is you don't want to have so many actions that it's impossible to actually develop an appropriate plan to monitor and support the work. So those are the part that's under reflections, which is annual performance. And then I mentioned CSI schools and differentiated assistance. If you look on page 34 and 35, you'll see the differentiated assistance dashboard, and around it is kind of a red box. Our team, when we looked at all of our red and orange indicators, the team agreed that mathematics was a area of significant need in the district. And there's a little more granular data that we looked at, and it is middle school. So we're really prioritizing mathematics in our middle schools. And so our differentiated assistance work for this coming up year will be to support mathematics in middle schools specifically. And then our CSI schools are also listed there. Now I'm going to ask the board's thoughts on this for a minute. We didn't list, like we didn't put in the entire plans. If we put in the entire plans for differentiated assistance and all the CSIs, instead of putting the link here, it adds probably 20 to 30 pages to the document. So I know when you're looking at it like this, it's not helpful to have a link, but when you access it digitally, either from the website or we can send you it digitally, you can access the links there. If you think it's better, as a board, we will add in the pages with the plans, but that again is about 20, it'll be about 20 to 30 additional pages by the time, because you're looking at the differentiated assistance plan is pretty significant in itself. I think it was 10 to 12 pages because we had multiple meetings. And then each CSI school has a plan that's probably, 7 to 10 pages. So it's even probably a little more. So you don't have to give me that answer right at this moment, but it is something when we meet individually, if you'll kind of think about that and let me know, because we'll need to add that in so that when we bring it back to you, it's printed there. Yeah, so it's actually like if you were to, like, I can have Liz share with you all the digital version. Yes, the links are live. If you go on the digital version and you click right next to, as an example, on page 35, where it says Madera Unified School District and it shows the link, if you click on that, it opens up the entire 10 to 12 page document. You can see who attended every meeting. You can see what was discussed at every meeting. You can see where we started with root causes, and then, it sees the whole, and then at the very end, it talks about like our problem statement and what we're going to do to address the work. So you see all of that on the actual document. Yes. Yeah, it's all there. That's what I'm asking. If you want it to be, or if you want us to try to condense it and put it.
Linking is good. Linking is good, but no condensing printing. I'm starting to get blinded with these reports, but I would say the root causes, if we could link it and we could see it, it'll be best.
Yeah, you can, it's live right now. And again, this will get posted on the website tomorrow morning in draft form. We just didn't post it until we brought it to you guys. So it'll be, those links are live, and I can again have Ms. Soto share.
I think it would be good if they mail us directly so we don't have to go look for it.
Yes, no,
Yeah, that
that's-
would be great.
we'll-
Yeah.
We'll have the link to the document, and then it's all here. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Because Madison didn't have any red indicators. Absolutely correct. Did not have any red indicators.
Just as a reminder for the people, we do have people that are.
Oh, we need our
there, so we
speakers.
need our-
Let's put our speakers on. Mike's on when we respond. I know, I was asleep too.
So the question was around Madison and Monroe, and the response was,
Madison had no red indicators, so they didn't have any student groups or school-wide any scores in the lowest performance level. Same with Monroe, same with Easton Arcola. We have some schools that had, I think Madera High had no red indicators. So as you go through here, the reason, if the school's not listed on here, it's because they had no red indicators, which means they had no student groups that performed in the lowest performance level. Yep. Okay. Okay. Next is the engaging educational partners as part of this document. Then it goes into the goals and actions, increased and improved services. The reason I went through that kind of quickly is because I wanted to show you, okay, this I just took you guys through. I kind of took you into the actual plan summary already, so I think we can go past that one. So let's look at page 36. So on page 36, this is the section that starts where we have to talk about how we engaged our educational partners. So the LCAP has 4 areas in which we have to address, and those are right there. So one, we have to address a summary of the process used to engage educational partners in the development of the LCAP. School districts must, at a minimum, consult with teachers, principals, administrators, other school personnel, local bargaining units, parents, and students in the development of the LCAP. And LEA receiving equity multiplier funds must also consult with educational partners at the schools that are generating the equity multiplier funds in development of the LCAP, specifically in the development of the required focus goal for each applicable school. And then lastly, we have to describe how the LCAP is influenced by the feedback provided by our educational partners. So that starts on page 36 and it goes all the way through to page 42. What I put up here for you, so you know, we had a strategic planning team that met 4 times in the fall and the spring between October and January. And that was planning sessions with key district and community partners. The main purpose of that group was we had to look at the current LCAP and again, talk about what we were going to keep and what we weren't going to keep and be prepared to explain why we were going to bring it forward into the new LCAP. So we saw them kind of as an intermediary so that when we got to the place where we were going to meet with PAC and DLAC and school communities, that we already had a general idea of what we were going to bring forward. And many of you sat in many of those meetings. So you'll remember we had those big topics like assets-based multilingualism, maximize student achievement, optimal student learning environments, those types of things. That's what that strategic planning team did. They helped us take the old LCAP, all the goals and actions, and sort of get them into the areas that we were going to use as we move forward to write the new LCAP. We meet with the Parent Advisory Committee in January, February, March, and April. The District English Learner Advisory Committee provides feedback in January, February, March, and April. I presented to MUTA in April. I presented to CSEA in April. Director Bonilla and myself at a principals PLC trained all of our school principals, and they conducted their own principal meetings in the months, their own community meetings in the month of April and May, where some of them did it in the morning, some of them did it in the evening, some of them did more than one, but they all conducted their own meetings at their school sites to generate feedback. We did student feedback, utilizing students in the PAC, but also utilizing Parsec Real with all of our high schools. SIMBA, I met with SIMBA in May, presented to them in May. And just last week, Director Bonilla and myself met with the SELPA administrator who works out of Madera County Superintendent of Schools office. And then we also, in March on our website, bring active a link for parents and community members to provide any feedback that they might have. And we also provided links to every principal that they could push out through utilizing Parent Square and posting on their own school websites as well. So that was our process for engaging our educational partners. Starting on page 40 and carrying all the way through 42, you'll see, I'm sorry, starting on page 40 and carrying all the way through 42, you'll see essentially what Director Bonilla and I did was we took all of the feedback that we got, say around assets-based multilingualism, and we went through and found the high leverage themes that were requested and kind of put them together. So if you, as an example, look on page 40, under assets-based multilingualism, the priorities from all of our educational partners emphasize the importance of supporting English learners and leveraging linguistic diversity. And then the actions that you'll find in the LCAP, there's 3 of them there. There's actually more because it has its own goal. And I think it has 5 to 6 actions that are just specific to English learners. So that's how we are showing that we took what was brought to us from community feedback, community partner feedback, and building that into our LCAP.
I have a question
Yes.
before you go.
Mhm.
So from each of our education partners, would you present us later the percentage of, like, per se, MUTA, the percentage of how many teachers participated? how
It's
many
actually in
parents?
here.
It's
Yep.
in this page?
Yep, it's on, if you look at page 36 through page 39. So for particularly at that one, if you look on page 38, right about the middle, it says MUTA, CSEA, and SIMBA. It shows the responses and it shows the dates that the survey was open and available. Yep, it talks, it shares at PAC, how many meetings were held, how many members were present, with the student voice. It talks about the Parsec Reel and the takeaways there. I listed the dates that what I don't have, Trustee Dybert, I don't have how many individually were present at each school meeting, but I did list the dates where those individual community meetings were held. Okay?
Question.
Mhm.
I am, thank you.
Your process of engagement, you know, all the different schools
Mhm.
and all the things that they talked about.
Mhm.
Can you do a compact it as a summary of things that are duplicated at the schools? Because a lot of it's all duplicated.
I don't know if I understand.
We'll say like Torres, a cultural representation is, you know, and you'll have the different things at each high school, the same.
Oh, you're
subject.
under the student voice.
Yeah, and the student voice is, you know, instead of having well, you could have every school, what they said, but it'd be
Yeah.
nice to have a summary because it's duplicated.
So it shouldn't be
Thing.
duplicated within the school. It should be by theme within the school. Now, it's possible that students at Madera High might have prioritized something that was the same at Torres.
Right.
So we didn't combine those because we kept it separate so that you
Well,
guys
because
could
it's
see the
general view,
schools.
This is what each school is agreeing on. What their comments are.
So there were 6,000 comments.
No, what you have here though, these are like the different schools.
Yes.
They're the same thing. It looked like to me when I looked.
Yeah, there's definitely
Yeah,
similarities.
they're gonna be repetitious because each one is gonna follow the
They were
same
all asked, so they
guidelines.
had 5 prompts. There were 5 questions they were asked. And then,
So they're all asked the same 5 questions.
yes,
It's not all, they didn't come up with this individual.
no, we
No.
gave them 5 questions. We can add the questions so you can see what questions were asked if you would like that in there.
Because the questions are asked a little different. Or the 5 questions are asked a little different at each school.
No, they're not. Each one got the same 5 questions. What is identified here is theme 1, theme 2, theme 3, theme 4, and theme 5. We took all of the student responses, and Parsec Reel utilizes artificial intelligence to go through and come up with the top 5. Well, I asked for 5. I said, give me the top 5 themes by school. So it took, as an example, at Torres High School, there were 6,800 something responses, individual student responses at Torres High School. It took all of those and it found the key areas, and that's how you see Torres High School's themes 1 through 5.
And so the similarities that you'll see from the high schools represents that the kids are thinking very similar things. That the themes aren't going to be exactly the same, but they're going to be very similar to one another, but they are distinct for each school. This is what the sensibilities of Madera High said. This is what the sensibilities of the student body at Torres says. And it already is summarized. This is summarized by artificial intelligence, and they pull out, they extract. This is extractive AI. They're extracting what is said and looking for the commonalities and creating
Key
themes.
detailed and themes.
Right, so it's about as close as we're ever going to get.
I was just asking you for the 3 high schools to summarize 5 items. It seemed like they're agreeing on, basically each school kind of saying the same thing in a different way.
But
It
I
might
think-
be possible to summarize it even further. I could see how we might be able to do that. If that's of interest to the board, we can do that.
Yeah, because when I'm looking through here, it's like they're all kind of saying the same thing in each high school.
But I think she's just reporting what the students said, and then there'll be an action combined for the
Yes.
district, right? Correct?
Yes.
So, no, I really like that because each school has things independently, looks at the question. So it's the same model that you did for our PAC meetings, DLAC. So everybody got pretty much, you give them the 5
Yes.
questions, and then they went and they put where their money's worth for what.
We just, and what would be maybe good for you all, and I can add that in there, is for you to see the 5 questions, because we definitely wrote them through the lens of a student. Our PAC student, our PAC members came in and we wrote the 5 questions more in student language. So as an example, one of the questions around, learning environment, we asked them, when you don't want to come to school, is there an adult or a group or an activity or someone that makes you want to come to school, right? Versus saying, something about your classroom learning environment. Well, that's when kids respond, I really love robotics, or I really love athletics, or I want to go to college, or this. And so we took the questions with our students that sit on the PAC, and I would say, kidified the questions so that they would just be more relatable to 14-year-old to 18-year-old students, which is freshmen to seniors who answered.
Are we good?
Okay.
So you
So-
want her, real quick, do you want her to add the 5 questions?
Well, it's just like some of the 5 questions at each high school, the students are basically saying the same thing on some of those questions.
Yeah, and that's where they get
So
the
I've
information
got to
from.
read each school, then try to figure out the ones that are different, So maybe a summary is you give, okay, this was kids are saying at each high school. And these are just a couple of things that are different that they say that.
Looks dirty.
Yeah, we can do that. I think we
Yeah,
felt
wanna
like
make
we
more
were trying to ensure that the high schools had their own, that the high schools worked really hard to get those results. And so
They
to
have-
just combine them all and say the high schools, I was trying to keep it.
You can do it separate, like you did, but then have a summary of the things that the students at each school are saying.
Well, it's because I seem like if you have it individualized by school, then you know what to target in those schools.
Yes.
That's why.
But as a district, when we're doing policies and we're figuring things
Yeah, but we're not
out,
doing
there's
policies, we're
probably
doing
things that
LCAP.
are going on.
No, but we
that
got to
has-
focus on LCAP, and LCAP is saying, I want you to tell me how you action, how you apply this money, and that's what, and we're going by schools. We're not doing policies, we're 2 different
Yeah,
discussions.
but I got to read this and I'm getting information out of that and I make it.
Well, maybe in the future, when we do policies, then we can go back and see, can use some of that data. But for right now, we got to focus on LCAP, where their action, where the funds were spent, how we could do it on individual schools, how these students responded.
We'll spend some time on Friday discussing this internally, and we'll see what kind of options we come up with for you. I think I understand what you're asking for, and I understand President Salazar's point. The state's template has us report as we are reporting out to you now. What you're asking for is some supplemental
Well, maybe we do a
materials that
separate
might help
report
you.
back to us. This is what our high school kids are saying. And
Okay.
maybe there's things that we should be working on. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe at the bottom, I still like to see the individual part, but I understand what trustee Cybert, maybe at the bottom it says, so the summary, this is the topic that was most focused to, and then, kind of like at the level of what was more interest of students, maybe. I'm not sure if that will satisfy trustee Cybert.
Well, we can take the themes from all of the high schools, and we will utilize artificial intelligence, we'll utilize AI to help us generate maybe the top 3 themes from the high schools, if that's what, does that?
There is some work, and I think it's important that we say this. There's some of the things that are recommended here from our students need to be the work of our administration. It needs to be very specific to that site. And some of the support that we provide needs to be able to be provided to all 3 sites. And so that's, I think, what you're kind of getting at, that yes, our area assistant superintendents need to know exactly what the high school is working on to address what the students are recommending. We need to also understand what kind of support we can provide that helps everybody. So I think I see some opportunity here.
Okay. Now we'll go through, and this is the largest portion of the document. This is where we get into the goals and the actions that are specific to each goal. And this section has 2 parts. The district-wide or LEA-wide goals are goals 1 through 5. And then the equity multiplier goals are goals 6 through 9. So I'm going to try to sort of, without spending too much time, because this is what we can go through in detail, but to share with you that goal 1 is assets-based multilingualism. And the vision under this goal is fostering asset-based multilingualism to celebrate and leverage the diverse linguistic talents of our students and families for equitable access to language resources and enhanced academic success. This goal and its subsequent actions are designed to address the needs of students at risk of becoming a long-term English learner and students who have already become a long-term English learner. So underneath assets-based multilingualism, we have 6 new actions written. And the total amount budgeted specific for this particular goal is $4.15 million. Next is goal 2, which is high quality student engagement opportunities. The focus of goal 2, or the vision, is that Madera Unified strives to offer a diverse range of activities that expand students' interests, access, and talents. By doing so, we aim to create an inclusive environment where every student feels represented and encouraged to participate. Madera Unified School District boasts an array of co-curricular opportunities and programs encompassing the arts, including dance, media, arts, music, theater, and visual art, sports, science, technology, engineering, and math, community service, and leadership development, fostering asset-based multilingualism to celebrate and leverage the diverse talents of our students. Nope, I found a mistake. That needs to be removed. Okay. That's the same, that looks like it's the same thing that was in goal 1. So within high quality student engagement opportunities, we have 5 new actions. And those 5 new actions budgeted $66.2 million is budgeted specific to support high quality student engagement opportunities. And you'll go back and see that a lot of the student comments are focused on these areas particularly. Goal 3 is around optimal learning environments. Under goal 3, the vision is Madera Unified School District will create the conditions for an environment of trust and support by ensuring student growth and preparation for college and careers. To do so, the culture and climate of schools must be conducive to learning and promote a sense of connection and belonging through professional learning, collaborative opportunities, and incentives. We seek to create school environments where students feel safe and connected. And this has got 28.1 million allocated to it with 9 actions. 28.1. Goal 4 is maximize student achievement. Under maximize student achievement, the vision is ensuring a seamless and enriching educational journey from preschool to graduation is a commitment rooted in the belief that every learner deserves access to high-quality education and comprehensive support. Our approach is centered on fostering an inclusive and nurturing environment for all educational partners involved in the educational system. So our goal was to not have any action with more than, any goal with more than 7 actions. However, because of the required actions that you saw in those tables, we just couldn't address all the areas required to address without having more actions specifically addressing student achievement. So there's 15. And 109.9 million is the allocated budget under maximizing student achievement. Yes, sir. Okay. And then under goal 5, under high quality operational services, the vision here is to provide high quality operational services to ensure the efficient and appropriate use of resources to impact the educational experience of all students. There are 6 actions under goal 5 for a total of $21.3 million. So again, the first 5 goals with the subsequent actions are goals that are addressed LEA wide. Okay. When you get to the section with goals 6 through 9, these are the equity multiplier goals. So we have 4 schools, which means we had to write an individual goal with actions, with measuring and reporting attached to it for each of the 4 schools. Okay. I just wanted to give you a snapshot here. Easton Arcola has written their plan to address by June of 2025. If I didn't mention it, these schools are designated equity multiplier schools only for 1 year. So you'll see that all of their goals are written to be measured by June of 2025. So Easton Arcola, by June of 2025, Easton Arcola K-8 students will increase their overall attendance by 2% as measured by monthly and yearly attendance reports from ARIES and show a decreased distance from standard by at least 5% in ELA and math as measured by the 2025 CASP test. Furman Independent Study says students will increase their overall attendance by 1% from 84% in elementary and 89% in high school as measured by monthly and yearly attendance reports from ARIES and show a decreased distance from standard of at least a 10% decrease in the distance in ELA, taking them to a minus 94.2, and in math, a minus 154.2 as measured by the 2025 CASP. Mount Vista will decrease their overall suspension rate by 10% from 25.1 to 15.1 as measured by the suspension indicator on the California School Dashboard. And Ripperton Community Day School will decrease their overall suspension rate by 10% from 64.3% to 54% as measured by the California Dashboard Indicator on Suspension Rate. So the equity multiplier goals you're going to see are very closely tied to attendance. So the first two schools are trying to just improve attendance. They don't have high suspension rates at Mount Vista and Ripperton. Their attendance will improve if their suspension rates decrease. And you are identified as an equity multiplier school if you have a non-stability rate, meaning that students are enrolled less than 245 days in the school year, and that attendance can be caused by truancy, expulsion, or for unknown reasons, and if they don't enroll in another school. So it basically means they have a 25% or higher absence rate for their entire school. They also have to have a socioeconomically disadvantaged pupil rate of greater than 70%. So that's the qualifying factors. But as you're reading their overall plans, they're all ultimately trying to increase their student attendance. As you take some time between now and when we meet, you'll see, as an example, at Eastern Arcola, they have a high migrant ed population. So their plan in the details, the fine details, calls out the ways they might want to address their migrant student population. So you'll see that when you get into those plans. And then I just listed here the budget for you. And again, these are one-year plans. So this will be revisited annually. Next is the section that is on page 94, which is our increased or improved services. These are what we commonly refer to as the S&C funds, or supplemental and concentration fund grant funds for Madera Unified. We will be getting $89,603,196. So that is part of our overall LCFF allocation. But one of the things we have to do specific is we had to identify, if we're using the supplemental and concentration grant funds, if we're using those dollars to support something that's LEA wide, we have to identify what student group, particularly between English learners, low income, and foster youth, are going to be impacted by the use of those dollars to improve or increase the services for those student groups. Something that's new this year is if you have an action that's specific to one or maybe two groups, then those are called limited actions. And we actually have 4 of those that are in our plan that are specifically written around English learners. So those are considered limited actions. And we have a total of 35 actions that is the budgeted amount for those 35 actions is what takes into account that $89,603,196. That particular section starts on page 94 in the book. And then Aurelius's hard work all starts on page 115. That's where you'll find all of the tables. And so there are 4 different sets of tables that are in this section. There is the total planned expenditure table, the contributing action table, the annual update table, and then the contributing action annual update table, for a total of 4 different tables that you'll find. And then the LCAP is concluded with the back of the book, which is the instructions for how to complete the 24-25 LCAP. So our next steps, myself and CFO Garcia and Director Bonilla, is to make ourselves available. I believe the sessions are already scheduled. Mrs. Soto's been working on scheduling those meetings for trustees to come in and sit down with the 3 of us over the course of the next 2 weeks before the final read, so that you can dive in as deep as you want in this document, and we can take you through that. And then we will be asking for board approval of the document on June 25th. We will submit to Madera County Superintendent of Schools, probably in actuality, the day after it's approved here. And then if there's significant revisions requested, the LCAP would be brought back to you all in September for a revised approval. That's it. Nobody fell asleep. It's good news.
To the artist formerly known as Assistant Superintendent Sissel. This represents an amazing amount of work, and I hope everybody recognizes that as this starts to push close to 200 pages, if we weren't careful, it could easily have exceeded 200 pages. There was a lot of synthesizing. There was a lot of trying to simplify so that it was more actionable. And one of the things that every leadership organization will tell you is that focus is really, really important. And focusing on 675 things all at once that are state mandated doesn't sound much like focus. So it's going to be a real task for all of us to try to turn this into something that is more of a leadership exercise than it is a record keeping exercise. And this is a real challenge. So I hope that you see that. And in many cases, and this is something that's, I discussed with some pretty smart people at the state level not long ago at Madera County Superintendent of Schools, when some of you were there. Most of the school districts in the San Joaquin Valley were not really considered when they were developing this. That's not the paradigm they had in their minds. And for everything red, there had to be all, actions like nobody had any idea that, well, I don't know if nobody had any idea. I don't think people took into account the severity of the challenges that most school districts in the San Joaquin Valley struggle with. And so what seems really smart and makes really good sense in committee doesn't necessarily make great sense in terms of like leadership focus on the ground in a place like Madera or our sister districts all around us. So I can imagine some of you might be thinking, boy, we really need to simplify this. It'd be nice, but that's not an option. I can imagine some of us thinking like, well, if we were just to move this to over here, it would make more sense to me. That again might be nice, but as Ms. Sissel said earlier, it isn't an option. So while we have some local control to address these issues, it's in parameters that don't give you much flexibility, if that makes sense. So it's a paradox. And the team that worked on this sequestered themselves once they were able to gather this vast amount of input and reflect that against data and work through the continuous improvement science process. They had a real challenge to try to take everything they heard with all the issues that we have and the state template and put every square peg into a round. So I want to thank you guys for that, because I've been doing a lot of thinking since you gave me my first draft of this. I've been doing a lot of thinking about how we might be able to use this strategically as a leadership document. In its present form, it isn't necessarily actionable, right? So that might be another conversation for another time, but it does meet the requirements. It does create this incredible sense of transparency. It is incredibly inclusive. We've always tried for that, but this is probably the greatest degree to which we have achieved it. And we also have a lot of really strong, willing partners amongst our parents, amongst our teachers, our labor unions, our administrators. There's a lot of people who see the potential in the work that we're doing. And I mean, I know they're all out there with bated breath listening to every word right now, but really we should send them a huge thank you out into the universe, because a lot of people contribute to this out of goodwill, really believing that we can make a difference. So appreciate you guys leading that work and putting it into a form that matches what the state's looking for. That was very much a square peg in a round in many cases. So thank you.
we're the only three here, but we each had a number of people in our offices and on our teams that probably spent equally as many hours helping us get this put together. So look forward to meeting with you all over the course of the next couple weeks.
Thank you, Ms. Sisson. Trustees, do you have any questions for staff? Trustee Dybert?
No, I still have to read it a little more and then have my questions in my individual meetings. So.
Trustee Ahmad? Trustee Fleet?
Done right now, thanks.
Trustee Dybert? I mean, Seibert, I apologize.
I just amazed at what you put into this. It's a lot of work and a lot of document, but we can't have something that's so complicated that we can't carry things out. We've got to keep things simple and focused on some key information, like kids learn when they apply what they're learning. I mean, that's my main focus is have classes that kids are applying what they're learning and they know why they're learning it. But man, this is quite a document you guys put out.
Clerk Mendoza?
No, nothing. Thank you.
Myself too, I'll read it and go over it, and then when we meet, I'll have some questions. Thank you very much, and maybe some of this data, I think what Trustee Seibert would try to say is that maybe some of this data we can use for other reporting of some of the feedback for some of these students and so forth, but thank you very much. Thank you, staff. Now on to item number 11B1, fiscal services. Present and discuss the 2024-25 preliminary budget. Superintendent Lyle.
So President Salazar, Clerk Mendoza, members of the board, if that wasn't enough, here is CFO Garcia with the budget. And it's a really challenging year. I mean, actually, there's some emails have come out today about some of the challenges with Prop 98, and we don't really know where everything's going. So CFO Garcia is mandated to develop a budget to bring to you through this process to be approved by the end of June. And she's meant to do that so that we have a foundation to build on for the whole rest of the year. Problem is the state is in quicksand. So here is CFO Garcia, who yet again is finding a way to make magic.
We turn on the light up here. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, President Salazar, Clerk Mendoza, trustees, Superintendent Lyle. Thank you for that introduction. And as you say, we are mandated to develop a budget and have it approved by the board before July 1st. And the state still has not approved their own budget. So as of today and tomorrow, the Senate Budget and Fiscal Review Committee and the Assembly Budget Committee are meeting to make decisions on the state budget. So we're gonna go over the May revision, the enrollment and attendance, the revenue, the expenditures, ending balance and reserve, the COVID funds and other one-time funds update, the checkbook balance, the projected cash flow, the multi-year projection, interfund transfers, multi-year ending balance and reserve, and other funds, and the section 115 OPEB trust at the end. So I'm gonna try to go as quick as possible, but please ask any questions if you have at any time. So during the May revision, the LCFF increase was set at 1.07%. That doesn't give us a lot of new revenue. It's about 1.7 million that we're receiving for 24-25. When our expenditures, you will see in later in the slides, our expenditures are going a lot higher for the year. But and I'll explain to you how we're addressing that. A new proposal is to address chronic absenteeism and loss of instructional time. The CDE is developing a new program that is to recover time for attendance, and at the same time recover funding. We still don't know what the program looks like and if it's beneficial for our districts. So we'll review all the requirements for that, and we'll develop what is good for our students. If it's to recover attendance, to recover instruction, and at the same time, recover funding. The LCFF equity multiplier, Associate Superintendent Cecil already explained to you this new ongoing funding that is to provide evidence-based services and support to those schools that qualify for the equity multiplier. And we have 4 of those schools. Another thing that the May revision was developed, informed, is the depletion, the intent of the governor to deplete the PSSSA, and that is the reserve for the K-14 schools. So it's the raining fund. So $4 billion may be depleted to address the state revenue deficit in during this year and next year. So we're gonna see how the budget is adopted at the state level. And at the same time, you know, we'll have to make adjustment in our own budget. And if it's major adjustments, we'll come back in 45 days after the board approval of the 24-25 budget and present it to you at revised budget. Enrollment and attendance, for 23-24, our enrollment was 20,401 students. That number includes all the students in our district, plus the students that are served by the county that are within our district boundaries. And I, in the past, I always bring to you only the district enrollment. But as the LCFF has changed, the calculation of the LCFF include those students. So now I'm included it too, because now those are counting in a 3-year average. And so that is aligned to the LCFF calculator. So our attendance, the actual attendance was at 18,857. But as I explained to you, we're being funded at the 3-year average. And so our funded LCFF will be at 19,180 or 94% from enrollment. For 24-25, our enrollment is same flat. As you can see, it's not much increased. And our attendance is estimated at 18,859 or 92%. So taking in consideration the 3-year average will be funded at 19,039, that is about 93%. As those actual attendance goes in at a lower percentage, it will affect our funded LCFF. So that means that I can see that in the future, our percentage for funded ADA will be at 92%. And it looks like now that will be our new normal. In the past, before COVID, our average was about 95%. So we have to be prudent and budget according to, you know, the most conservative. If we receive a little bit more funding, it's good, but we're not counting that we're gonna receive more and then find out that, you know, our attendance is not increasing. The general fund revenue for 23-24 was updated, and it's at 443.1 million. It includes the 11.1 million of STIRS on behalf. The unrestricted side of the general fund is 287.9 million. The restricted side is 155.2 million. The LCFF revenue, 305.6 million, and that includes the 8.22% COLA that was increased for current year. We still have COVID funds that we received this year. It's the last year of COVID funds, no more COVID funds in 24-25, and we have 29.2 million in the revenue. 24-25, we estimate the revenues of very close to 400 million. It includes 12.9 million in STIR on behalf. The STIR on behalf, I want to remind you that is a financial requirement that we account in our financials what the state is contributing on behalf of the districts for this benefit. And so that number is given to us by the state, and so we cannot increase it or decrease it. So they tell us a set amount or how much it's going to be. The unrestricted revenue, 282.1 million, in restricted 117.7 million. The LCFF revenue, as you can see, the 1.07 COLA, 307.4, so it's not a very big increase for the size of our district. Here are the graphs for the revenue. As you can see, LCFF is the largest chunk of the pie, and the blue is the base of the LCFF, when the orange is the SNC funds that Associate Superintendent Ciso was talking about to use for increased services for our students. The local control funding formula, it's composed of the base grant, the supplemental and concentration funds, and some add-ons. So for 23-24, that 305.6 million, base grant is 212.3 million, SNC 88.8, and the add-on is 4.5 million that are composed of the target instruction, home to school transportation, and transitional kindergarten. For 24-25, 307.4 million, the base grant 213.2, SNC 89.6, and the add-ons are 4.6 million. The general fund expenditures for 23-24, 464 million. That includes also the STIRS on behalf. The salaries and benefits, 305.8 million. Our biggest programs is special education. We are at 38.5 million. The routine repair maintenance account, 13.3 million. We have a requirement from the state that we need to spend at least 3% of the general fund expenditures in this account to maintain the facilities of our schools and our buildings. Transportation, 9.5 million, or utilities at 7.8 million. For 24-25, our budget is at 464.4 million. It also includes the STIRS on behalf. The salaries and benefits, 324.3 million. It includes step increases in our salaries and all the new positions that the board approved in core staffing, and I have a list of them in the next slides. Or special education, 40 million, so you can see an increase of 1.5 million. Routine repair maintenance, 13.5. Transportation, 9.3 million, and utilities at 8.2. So everything is increasing. Nothing is decreasing. You can see in the graph, the biggest expenditure is our salaries and benefits, of course. That's the biggest piece of the pie. You may see in there that the capital outlay is bigger in 24-25 than 23-24, and that is because we have about 25 million in ELOP funds that are going to go again to build that athletic facility that we're planning. It's in the budget for next year. We have 2 years to spend that carryover for ELOP. So the state changed the rules on us again. Before, they were saying that the 23-24 carryover for ELOP has no expiration date. We just find out in the May revision that now we have 2 years to spend the carryover. And so Deputy Superintendent Schwartz, it's already stressing out how we're gonna spend those 25 million so we don't give it back to the state. Here are the new positions that we added in 24-25, and they were approved in January in our core staffing. A total of 73.8 FTE was added in 24-25, but at the same time, we review the vacancies that we have in 23-24, and we're able to close vacant positions at 28.38, so a net increase of 45.4. All these positions that we closed were vacant, so we, as a district, make the commitment to not have any employees lose their jobs. So we either find them another funding, find them another house, and to keep everybody employed. The estimated ending balance for current year and next year, the 23-24, 144.2 million. The non-spendable 596,698. The restricted, we have 48.4 million. and assigned 635,566. Committed funds, we have 46 million. And our adjusted ending balance is at 48.5 million, and that give us the 10% reserve that we can maintain. We still have to keep that cap. The state is talking that if they deplete the rainy funds, the state will remove that cap from the district so we can have a higher reserve, but that will not happen until the budget is passed and voted by the state. So we still have to keep working on the assumption that the cap still in effect. The 24-25 or ending balance is estimated at 74.6 million. We still have the non-spendable. You see that we don't have no restricted funds because now they are included in the budget for 24-25, those 48 millions. The assigned is still maintained. The committed funds, I want to point it out that it's reducing. And that was a strategic plan that we made a few years, 2 years ago when we start funding positions with COVID funds. We set aside 22 million plus other committed funds to make sure that we can absorb those positions back into the unrestricted funds as the one-time funds start depleting. It's happening in 24-25. We already are absorbing all the specials that we have at the elementary schools, all the TSMs that the teacher mentors that we brought in when we have COVID funds. So now we're absorbing those into unrestricted general fund, and to maintain these positions, we're using these committed funds. So you can see that we are using about 15 million next year. And then in the next 2 years after that, we're gonna be able to maintain those positions and keep absorbing with a little bit of new revenue and some of these committed funds. Here's an update of the COVID funds. As you can see in the balance column, we have zeros. That means that in 24-25, we're gonna have only the arts music and the learning recovery grant. And we have 7 million in the arts music grant and 15 million on the learning recovery fund. We budgeted all. We don't have to use it all. We'll use it as needed. And whatever is not used will carry over to the following year. As you can see, for arts and music, we have until June 30, 2026, and for learning recovery fund until 2028 to spend the funds. I don't anticipate that they are gonna last that long, but we're gonna make an effort to stretch them as much as possible. All the COVID funds will be depleted as of June 30 of this year.
Just 1 second. CFO Garcia. How many different funds were there? Do you know off the top of your head? It was like 12, was it not? Something like that? 14?
Yes, something like that. I didn't count them before.
And they were all one-time funds, and they all had different requirements, and they all had different deadlines.
And reportings every quarter.
And they had to be reported every quarter. I just want to kind of pause on that fact because I know there's at least one of our trustees has done some pretty extensive bookkeeping work. This was an amazing feat of like leadership and like detail. And I mean, it was incredible. And every time I ever asked you about any of these, you always had the answer and you always knew. And I just want to thank you for that, because this is one of those things that, as we have heard from Jack O'Connell and others from CVC and capital advisors, like this has been a huge problem for CFOs across the state. They have not been able to do this. And we shouldn't take for granted the fact that you did, and you did it really well, and you got us to this point. I just want to thank you for that.
Yes, and I can tell the board that, some districts have to return funds because they were not able to spend it or they didn't meet the requirements. And as of today, the auditors were here last week. They are auditing all these funds. And as of today, we don't have to return any of them. And we're making sure that we use the most restricted first. And as we have other grants, and sometimes we have overlapping, and we have to move expenditures from one grant to another because we need to spend something by a certain day. And we keep very close communication with Director Deorian, Director Crafton, Associate Superintendent Cecil, Ms. Ochoa, all the other directors that they are bringing on grants that sometimes we're paying expenditures from other sources, but they qualify to use the grants that they are bringing in. And those are the most restricted because if we use it or lose it, or we have to return it. And my goal is not to return no money to nobody.
Well, look, and I just want to put a fine point on this, and I don't want to delay this meeting any further, but I think it's very, very important that we understand we had opportunities to make huge investments and huge changes in our educational program. We never, we did not let this crisis go to waste. We revolutionized the way that we educate our kids in Madera Unified. And that would not have been possible if you could not have kept it all straight and kept us all straight and always figured it out. So I just want, I don't know that sometimes you just do your job and you just work really hard. Your whole team does that. You serve us really, really well. But this also takes a lot of leadership, and it made a massive direct impact on students.
And that's
Thank
our
you.
goal. Yes. Thank you. So the checkbook balance, we have 225.7 million at the on hand at the county. And that sounds like we have a lot of cash on us, but remember that sometimes the state sends us the money for a grant and they send it in advance. That doesn't mean that we have to spend all the money because as you can see with the learning recovery funds, we have until 2028. So the money, we have it already and we're gonna spend it as needed and we're gonna make it last. So that's why sometimes our cash amount is large and it looks like we have a lot of millions. But at the same time, we have to be prudent because as the Superintendent Lyle said about the state having been in quicksand, we don't want to be caught off guard that they are doing deferrals. And for your knowledge, deferrals is when the state says, give you an IOU. It's like, I know I owe you money, but I'll pay you later. And by that time, we still have to pay our bills. And so with this amount of cash, the district doesn't have to borrow any cash because borrowing cash is very expensive. And it's a big, long process that I have to have resolutions that have to be approved by the board. And so having the cash, a person that was in a training said that cash is king, and that is true because you can pay your bills. And so I know other districts that they have to do their trans process every year just to have it in hand because they always need cash. We've been very lucky in the years that I've been as a CFO, and I've been here 18 years, and I've seen that that borrowing that happened only once, and it was many years ago. And so we've not been having the need to borrow cash. So we have the fair value adjustment there, and as we close the year, that will be recalculated. And in its essence, it says you do have 225 million in the bank, but the actual value as of June 30 is 217 because as investments and the cash, the value being less than 100%. So the auditors make us do an adjustment to show the actual value of the cash when we close the books. So we also owe money to some agencies. For example, we have there the health and welfare. As we approach the summer, we don't have teachers that we pay them salaries in July. We pay them their deferrals, that is the savings that they did throughout the year, but we don't pay them a salary. So they don't get deducted for their insurance. So we still have to pay it because we pay it in a 12-month. So that 2.4 million is for that reason, to pay for those months that we don't have contributions either from the district for the teachers or the people that are 11-month employees, but we already have the cash to pay for it. Employee taxes, those are paid quarterly. Retires health and welfare, that is for our retirees, and the same thing, we have the cash to pay for their insurance. We have employee reimbursements. Sometimes the employees have a deduction that we send it to, we'll say American Fidelity, and American Fidelity said, no, we canceled their insurance. Here is the money back. So they send us the money back, but because it's before tax, now we have, before we give it to the employee, we have to tax it. So we'll pay it back to the employee, but we have to take taxes out of it. The CSAP Classified Summer Assistant, that's a program or classified employees love, because that they save money throughout the year, and it gets paid out in July. The state is been matching dollar per dollar of what they save. So if they save $1,000, the state will send another 1,000 for on their behalf. We have to pay it out to them, but we have to tax that $1,000 coming from the state because nothing's free here. And but we've been participating in this program since 1920. And every year, or CSEA representative will send an email in December. I want to know that the district is participating on the CSAP program. And we've been very lucky to be able to participate. We have about 350 employees that participate annually. So it's a very good benefit for them. The deferred payroll, you see there, $5 million, that is the teacher's savings. And so that will be paid out in July. It is for the teachers that they are contracted 11 months. So for sure they are gonna have a check in July. And then we have our use tax liabilities, that is any taxes that we owe for anything that we buy out of state that they don't charge taxes. We still have to do our job paying the taxes that we owe to the state. So total liabilities, we owe $9.5 million. So and that our cash balance is $208 million. And we have 318,000 in accounts receivable. That means we have agencies that owe money to us. And sometimes, most of the time, is the federal government. They take their sweet time to pay us back, but we still keep those numbers in our books until they pay us. The cash flow, as you can see, we are all these amounts, July through April, are actuals. You see the 225 million in April. May and June are estimates. And so as you can see, our cash will be lower in June, but it's still a good amount to keep us afloat. Our general fund monthly expenditures, the average is 33 million. And in April, we spent 26.5 million in salary and benefits. Materials and supply, we spent 1.5 million. Services, 4.3, and that includes our contracts, utilities, and other services. Capital outlay, 78,000, and that includes anything that we purchase that is 5,000 or more. The state requires that we categorize those as a capital outlays or assets, in other words. Other expenditures, is a transfer to Madera County Superintendent of Schools, 442,000. And that is for those students that I was talking in the enrollment, that they belong to us, but they are served by the county. They get their money, nothing's free. Year-to-date expenditures, year-to-date payroll, payroll is very predictable, and we know that we pay payroll every month. So the actuals are up to April. So we are in schedule, and we're gonna be pretty close to the budget that we have of 305 million in there. Material, services, and capital outlay, those are less predictable, and so we pay it as we're receiving the bills. But whatever, and that includes any categoricals or restricted funds in there that if they are not spent, we'll either carry over or bring to the next fiscal year as a deferred revenue. For the multi-year, we make assumptions of the things that we know are going to happen and some that we have an idea that are going to happen. Or enrollment and attendance, you saw that in the first slide. Or unduplicated count, we are about 91.5% of unduplicated. It's been roughly in the 90s. The cost of living adjusting, the COLA, we know current year and next year, but we don't know the next 2 years. The Department of Finance give us an estimate what the COLA will be, and you will see it later, but now we don't believe them very, hardly, so we have our doubts how that is gonna go. Step and columns, that for sure is gonna happen. CalSTRS and CalPERS rates, CalSTRS has been flat for the last 2-3 years, but CalPERS still rising, so we account for that. Health and welfare contribution increase, we know that we have that escalator of 3% in our CBA, and we'll have to account for it. Consumer price index and inflation rate, we know everything is, prices are going up. Minimum hourly rate, we are at $16 this year. In January 2025, it will go to $16.50. So we have to account for that. Opening the new school. So we just recently, got the news that the school opening for Hussein is gonna be delayed a year. So now it's expected to open in August 2026. So, but we still have to account for that opening. Future negotiations, salaries and benefits for 24-25, we have not even open negotiations yet. So we'll have to manage that and see what we can offer at the table. Okay, so this is LCFF new revenue. As I said, 23-24 and 24-25, the COLA has been set. And we receive new revenue in the new year, but as the same thing, we have new expenditures. So we were pretty close, we have a 2.8 deficit in 23-24. In 24-25, the COLA 1.07 only brought us 1.7 million in new revenue, but we have 9.3 million in expenditures. So we are in a deficit at 7.6. The 25-26, you see the COLA at 2.93 and 26-27 at 3.08. We are gonna be very cautious and keep our eyes open on what those COLAs are gonna be, because if they are lower, that the legislative analyst office is predicting that it may be lower COLAs in future years. So if they stay at what the Department of Justice have told us, we'll have enough money to cover the new expenditures, and we're gonna be in a little surplus if that is true. The interfund transfer, the district will maintain the interfund transfer from the general fund to the special reserve building, Fund 41, for the next 4 years. That transfer will help us meet that 10% reserve cap. But as you can see, in 26-27 may start reducing or even disappear, depending on, all the things that I talk about on our assumptions. We have approved construction projects. The stadium, we already used it for graduation, so it's pretty much complete. The district-wide solar is completed also. The Veranda bus loading zone is completed. We still have projects working on the Madison expansion, the TK expansion, the Hussein School, and the Madera High Stadium and field house. And of course, we have a very long list of other projects that are not board approved, but we still have in the list that we can, if we can fund, we'll bring it to the board's attention. So here is the year, future years ending balance and reserve. And as I mentioned it, I'm still working on the 10% cap. So for 23-24, the ending balance with 144 million, the unassigned and reserve 48.5, so that gives us the 10%. For 24-25, 79.6 million in the ending balance, 46.9 unassigned and 10% reserve. 25-26, 79.6. And I think that number was probably the same as the year before, so that's wrong. I'll send you the new one. And so we're still gonna keep the 10%, but 26-27, you see that the ending balance is declining, little by little. So we have other funds that besides general fund, and those are funds that are maintained by the district. Most of them are, they operate within its revenue. And so we have the Student Activity Special Reserve Fund, Fund 8, and that is our student body accounts at the schools. We have it at the 3 high schools, the 3 middle schools, and at MTech. Adult education, we have a projected ending balance of 841,778, and expenditures at 104,569. Those numbers will update when we close the books on June 30th. So the next time that I bring the 23-24, it will have the actuals of the revenue coming in and the expenditures for that fund. Adult education, 303,795 beginning balance. As you can see, the revenue 1.9, and is the same number in the expenditures. That we're always trying that the funds operate within its own revenue. Child development, 3.6 in the revenue, 3.6 in the expenditures. Child nutrition has been having a pretty healthy ending balance, 4.2 million. The revenue 20 million, and expenditures also 20 million. The building fund is Fund 21, and that is where we bring the money in when we have a bond sale, and we are estimating that the next bond sale will happen in the fall this year. So, and we have 50 million that we can sell, and that will help with the Hussein construction. And it will come into Fund 21. So right now we have 32 million that, remember last time that we had the sale, it was 35 million. And so that is also for Hussein, that is gonna be about 80 million. That is not gonna be enough. The price is still going up. Fund 25, developer fees, we have 5.3 million in the beginning balance, and we're estimating that we're gonna have about 2 million in new revenue from that fund. The redevelopment agency, 655,000 in the beginning balance, 1.2 million in revenue. And we use those funds to pay the COP, the old COP, the 2014 refinance COP. And so as you can see it in the transfer out, 1.1 million, 0.2 that is going out, and is going in Fund 56, the one in the bottom. Fund 35 is the school, county school facilities, and that is the state match. So for any construction that we qualify for state match, we apply, and we deposit the money in this fund when the state give us the money. That it usually takes like 2 or 3 years to give us the money for state match. So right now we have 41.7 million in there. The 500,000 that you see in the revenue is just for the interest for having the money at the bank. So we're not expecting any state match in this year. Fund 40 is our special reserve capital, 255 in the beginning balance, 10,000 in interest, and 1 million that is coming from the general fund as a contribution. And that fund is used when we have projects or anything that needs to be done or that doesn't qualify for routine repair and maintenance. For example, sometimes our wells go out in some of the schools, and we need to come out with like 200,000 to repair it, and that is coming from that fund. Fund 41 is our special reserve building. We have 68.6 million. We have 1 million in interest that we're expecting, and then the 10 million that is coming from the general fund as a interfund transfer. And so that money, the 79.6 million that we're expecting in that fund, is going to be helping, all those projects that I listed in my previous slide, Hussein being the biggest. Fund 51 is our bond interest and redemption. Those funds are not in our financial system. They are kept at the treasurer's office of Madera County, but we are required to report it in our financials when we close the books. So they will tell us how much money they were received and how much money was paid out. And that fund pays for all those bonds that were passed in our behalf. And now they are collecting the money from the local taxes, and they receive the money and pay the payments for those bonds, but we still require to report it in our financials at the end of the year. And the debt service is where we're paying the COPs, and we have the 2014 that was refinanced. And we also have the 2018 that is not 18 anymore. Now it's 2024 because we refinanced that one. And when we refinanced it this year, we were able to save an estimate about 22 million in interest for the refinance that we did. So we still have to pay it, but we're saving some interest on it. And last is our section OPEB trust. And so we opened this trust in 2018. Our balance as of April 30, 2024 is 11.2 million. 9.5 million is the district contribution, and we have made 1.8 million in earnings. We have paid 87,000 in fees, and that is just for maintaining the account with the vendor. 500,000 annual contribution is coming from the general fund every year, and we're saving, this is a savings for the retirees' health and insurance in the future. So the next slide shows the detail. And as you can see, in February, we made the contribution of the 500,000 annually that we do. And the earnings, we have some good months and some not good months. My estimate that for this account to generate enough earnings to pay for all our retirees' health insurance, the balance needs to be about 30 million to generate the 2 million that we need to pay for retirees' insurance. So right now we're paying that from our general fund. So if you have any question, let me know. Otherwise, this is the first reading, so I'll be back. Probably I'll not be back because that week I'm gonna let the board know I'm gonna go bring the people that is in the Oaxaca team, bring them back so they can make it safe. And so hope the superintendent will help me get this approved.
Thank you, CFO Garcia. Trustees, do you have any questions for staff? Trustee Dybert? Trustee Ahmad? Trustee Leak?
None, thank you.
Trustee Seibert?
No, she didn't leave any room for questions.
Clerk Mendoza?
No, none. Thank you.
And then for myself, thank you again, CFO Garcia. Announcements, Superintendent Lau, do you have any announcements for the board?
I do. They're relatively brief. I just want to call to our attention that we have 20 plus Madera Unified staff members down in Oaxaca, Mexico now. The reports we're getting back are really outstanding. Director Ochoa referenced some really fantastic pictures that she wants to share with me. It sounds like a fantastic trip all the way around, and I think there's a great deal of connection being made for our students here in Madera and what we could do to better understand and support their acclimation and their cultural expression here in Madera. I also want to share with the trustees that June 11th, that's today, starts the first day of summer school, and that we will be going until June 19th, and that's a holiday. Excuse me, July 19th, that's a holiday. That's we're finally done. No, that's not right. There's not July 19th, a holiday. That's July 2nd is a holiday, June, and then June 19th is also Juneteenth. I just wasn't reading this very well. My apologies. Don't mean to confuse anyone. And then I also want to remind the trustees and thank you for the opportunity to take Ms. Sissel's team and our area assistant superintendents up to Seattle to NCE's Alliance annual retreat. It's an opportunity for us to work together and learn from some of the nation's experts as they are learning the secrets from high performing countries and what we can do with those. So we plan on coming back full of new ideas and some, I hope some really important leadership tactics to bring to our LCAP to life. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Superintendent. Item number 13A, miscellaneous. Board members, committee and information reports, trustees. It's an opportunity for you to provide the board updates, reports from committee meetings or events you have attended. We start with trustee Ahmad.
Thank you. On May 31st, I attended Madera South High School We Believe Champion Award ceremony. And later the same day, I also attended TJ Middle School Athletic Group Project and Award. It was very nice to see the students' group effort and excitement to complete the project. I really want to congratulate all the recipients. In the evening, same evening, I also attended a Middleton relay at Madera High School, despite it was really hot, but relay, I believe it was really success. I would like to commend, well done, everyone involved in their hard work and dedication. And as we all did, starting June 3rd to 6th, I attended all the graduation ceremony. And also I attended TJ Middle School and Furman ISP promotion. And in TJ, it was surprised to know that it was almost 445 students promoted. And I would like to congratulate each and every one student. And we are incredibly proud of all the students, their academic achievement and their winning of all the championship, and their hard work and dedication pays off. On June 4th, I also attended the kindergarten promotion at Washington School. A lovely performance. It was really nice to see the smile and their performance, their dance move. It was really nice. And also on June 10th, I attended the Classified Employee Conference general session only, and which was followed by Trustee Nybert's speech. I would like to say, well done. It was very wonderful and inspiring speech. At the end, I also want to acknowledge and extend my heartfelt appreciation to the entire staff and management of Madera Unified School District completing the physical years, and also the exceptional dedication and hard work each and every one have done. We all know without each and every one, it is not possible. So I really like to say thank you for completing a wonderful year. Congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, trustee Ahmad. Trustee Dybert.
Man, you're gonna beat me with your report. Well, all the trustees, I think in the last 2 weeks, we've been very visible at every event, the celebrations we had. So I'm not gonna go over every single one of them, but it's been very rewarding to attend, We Believe Champions, Scholarship Award, the AME Scholarship, our partners, they did a great job. When it went a little long, but it was really, really nice. The kindergarten promotion, it really warms your heart, and you have children, you remember your own kids and seeing the parents and grandparents being there. It's just a happy weeks at the end of the year that pays off the effort and the work that we all collectively do, from the teachers' aides, from district, from teachers, classified employees, superintendent, board members. I think we should feel proud of all the work that is being done in the classroom. So I just want to say I'm very, very happy, very proud to be in this community. I see visiting at the end of the year. It leaves me with a good feeling in my heart that everybody's doing their best to give the best they can give to the students. And just want to wish everybody to have a safe summer, whatever you take, a week, 2 weeks, or a whole summer, be safe and enjoy your time off. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Dybert. Trustee Fleek.
Okay, the last of the school site council meetings have been attended. Madera High School had their yearly car show in the pit. Madera South High School had their last student voice meeting. South also had their military signing for the students that will be serving our country. We had our week of graduations and promotions. Congratulations, class of 2024. Yesterday was the classified conference at Torres. It was well attended and the sessions were very informative. I know I learned some things I didn't know. And thank you.
Thank you, trustee Fleek. Trustee Seibert?
Yes, when I graduated, attended all the graduation ceremonies. We had a art fest where all the art kids come together from 3 different schools. And it was interesting to see how they support each other and the excitement in it. I was really impressed
The
with.
Theater Arts Awards, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Theater Arts Awards. They call it the Art Fest. It's carried on like the Academy Awards and very, very enjoyable. We walked over to see the FFA banquet, end of the year banquet. I had a question. During the graduation ceremonies, we had a classified employee come up and hand out a graduation certificate, you know. Said the principal handed out, and a classified employee came up and gave it to a student. I don't know if that's appropriate. Because when Arredondo wanted to give out one, we didn't let him. Pardon? Yeah, it
I
was,
wasn't aware of it. Which graduation was it?
yeah, it was Madera High School. The head, I think the head custodian or whatever. maintenance.
Yeah, nobody notified us. I
So
didn't
he
see it.
came up and handed it instead of the principal. And I don't think that's, board policy. I think we have a policy on that they don't.
Gotta look into it.
Happen.
Yeah, we were, superintendent and myself weren't aware of it right now. And Arredondo was a different situation. He's not an employee. He wasn't a trustee at all.
No, yeah, he's an employee
Yeah,
and
but-
they usually employees, they don't come up and do that.
No, I didn't see it. I didn't hear about it till right now that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And that obviously superintendent was not.
That's
aware.
Madera High School.
We'll look into it.
Thank you for sharing. Anything else?
No.
Clerk Mendoza?
Just a couple of things. I attended the promotions to all the graduations, and I also attended the Sherman Thomas 8th grade graduation. So that's it.
Thank you. Myself, like you guys, I attended all the graduations. Congratulations to the ones that promoted and the kinders, staff, teachers, principals, everybody, teachers, and also especially for putting these 4 graduations at Torres and the contract to make sure we're trying to get it all together. And also I attended Madison's first promoting 6th graders, their assembly. That's our first kinder class, the DLI class. There were kinders and now they're 6th graders going on to 7th grade. But besides that, thank you. I thank you to everybody and all the staff and for all the accomplishments. It takes, like the way they say, it takes a village to raise a kid to get them to this point. But thank you very much in every which way. Okay. Okay, now we go on to, thank you, trustees, I'm sorry. Item number 14, advanced planning. The next regular board meeting is scheduled for June 25th, 2024, here in Madera Unified School District room here at the boardroom. Suggested future items. Trustees, do you have any items you would like staff to present in a future board meeting? Trustee Ahmad? Trustee Dybert?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Trustee Fleek?
None, thank you.
Trustee Seibert?
No.
Clerk Mendoza?
Nothing. Thank you.
Myself, the NWA summer reports that we're working on, we could get those finished so we could review those. We don't have the last of them yet. The students took the test in the spring. We could get those summer reports out. Suggested, never mind, adjournment. So it is 9:30 and I adjourn this meeting. Thank you for attending the board meeting. Good night and drive safely.